PlayStation 4 kind of won by default in the eighth generation. If we're looking at the main console systems where you can play like the latest and greatest, mainly because Xbox they kind of fumbled the ball a lot as far as what they were doing during this generation, and Nintendo went a different direction with their Wii U and Nintendo Switch. As while they were good systems in their own right, but they kind of went in a different direction, right, where the focus was more on the Nintendo games and also the hybrid system behind it, as the systems weren't quite as powerful as either the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. So really that left Sony's machine to be able to be the sort of catch-all system for this generation, obviously outside of Nintendo games. And so for that, it it just kind of won by default in that sense. But it's not to downplay the awesome success that this system had. It towards the end of the PlayStation 3's lifetime, we started seeing that there was a lot of great sequels exclusive games coming out to the Sony PlayStation that were really excellent, and that trend continued on into the PlayStation 4. Now, this generation took a few years to kind of get going, but once it did, there was a lot of cool stuff that was coming out on it. And so when it came to games that were really pushing the envelope as far as graphic-wise, gameplay-wise, cultural relevance and all, generally you can find them on the PlayStation 4. And so a lot of the games that I have here on my top 10 list, I feel are examples of that, as it was overall, the PlayStation 4 was a pretty great system. There was a lot of things that was happening during this generation that I was already not becoming the biggest fan of, but doesn't mean that there wasn't a lot of great stuff on here. And again, a lot of these games that I'm going to name here are in many ways only were playable on the PlayStation 4, at least at the time of their release. But definitely let me know, though, what were your favorite games on this system here. I'd be happy to hear what some other games on the PlayStation 4 people were playing that weren't, the normal games that people normally mention. At my number 10, I have Detroit Become Human. So this game was developed by Quantic Dreams, and so it's very much a story-driven game, but where your choices make a big difference, though, and there's a lot of things you can interact with on here where it's a little bit more than, say, like some basic walking simulator, as it gets really creative with just how you can do some of the button prompts on the screen there, right, to make you feel more immersed in the overall adventure. But outside of that, just the really great graphics, the really great acting, and just the overall sense of immersion that you get with how you control your character really puts you into this world here where you control 3 different androids and how their story interacts and all with each other and all is really cool. And I haven't quite beaten this game, but I've gone a ways into it, and I feel like it's so far has really got me hooked, and really well told story. And for the most part, even with all the different choices that you can make in the game, it tells a pretty cohesive story and all, which I'm always really impressed when they can pull that off. And definitely, if you're into a more story-based game, so again, they'll go into this game expecting a lot of crazy action, although because of the direction, though, of the game and all, it actually can get pretty intense. But for the most part, it's very story-heavy. But if you can appreciate that, I think there's a lot to love in this game, and I'm looking forward to beating this game and all, because it really has my attention, and definitely one of the more unique games you can play on the PlayStation 4. But coming in at number 9, I have Bloodborne. And, for me, if you've listened to anything that I've said before, Souls-like games are games that I really want to get into because I love the setting to them. I love the lore as far as I know of it. And the gameplay is pretty cool and all. And that it takes so many references from things like Berserk, which I'm an absolute fan of. I really want to enjoy these games, but I have a hard time, though, with Souls games because, suffice to say, I suck at them. But even having said that, Bloodborne, I love the look to it. It's very gothic, and I just really enjoy that. And it kind of reminds me of this old PlayStation game called Nightmare Creatures, if anybody's ever heard of that game. But it has like this sort of like European dark gothic like look to it that is really intriguing to look at and explore, and just the backdrops look amazing, and the action is pretty cool, where this one definitely feels like it's more offensive based than, say, like the Dark Souls games, as you can't really block in this one, but combination of using your parry and counterattacks and all is part of the name of the game as far as I know on this one. But like I said, I kind of suck at it. But definitely a game that I still haven't given up on this game, and I want to try to really put some time into it soon, because the overall look of the game really intrigues me, and maybe enough to that I would be try to willing to overlook the difficulty of it because of that. And it's definitely a fan favorite. So Bloodborne, yeah, really cool game. But at my number 8, I have The Last of Us Part 2. Oh man, this game. Whew. Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about this game because I'm still kind of torn between this game. And I say that because if we're talking about the gameplay itself, well, actually, let me back up a bit. Part 1, if you've seen my PlayStation 3 little top 10 that I did, is my second favorite game of all time. It's absolutely amazing. I love that game. I almost felt though that it didn't need a sequel, though. So I already kind of went into it with a chip on my shoulder on that because of that, right? But, still from the same creator, so let's give it a shot, right? And so the gameplay is improved on. It takes the same tense gameplay from the previous ones with really great melee combat, cool stealth mechanics, and actually with added moves and all. And definitely makes it feel still very brutal like the first one, right? And all. And just a lot of fun to play through as you're sneaking around and trying to pick your targets and all. It's a whole lot of fun. The graphics are really some of the best you'll see ever. They're just truly incredible. I mean, just look at this, what you're seeing, right? I know that I'm just recording this off of I'm a little cheap where I'm just recording with my phone pointed at the TV, but I think you get a gist of what this game looks like. And now I will say again, some of these games here, I'm playing the PlayStation 5 versions and all, right? So I'm just playing the versions that I have. So it didn't quite look this good on the PlayStation 4, but it really, a lot of it is just mainly because of the frame rate, right? Because the game on the PlayStation 4 looked really stunning too. The game mechanics are good. The graphics are impressive. The acting is really impressive and all that. It comes down to the story, right? And the first one having just a memorable story and all. And for this one to kind of take a hit in that department there is really what hurt this game. So, excuse me, for me. The I mean, this game had so much controversy behind it and all. I mean, it's not even funny. So, but basically, it's, for me, some of the things that were controversial about the game, it didn't bug me too much. But what really did kind of annoy me is the overall structure of the game and how I just don't feel like it was paced very well. I feel like the choices that they made to go from one character then to the next and all, and then you're kind of replaying certain parts of the story. I don't know. It kind of threw me off, and I felt like it was a little overkill. And so for that reason there, it took a bit of a hit when it comes to story, because sometimes I feel like it goes on and on and on, and there's a lot of unnecessary things that I just feel like kind of killed the overall mood of the game and lost some direction to it. Like it didn't have quite a clear of a focus on it. Having said that, though, right, it's still really well done, though, right? And so I can't help but still get into these characters still. And it's definitely was intriguing enough for me to play through, because coming back to this world on, as a follow-up to what happened at the end of part 1, which if you've been that game, I'll just say definitely left it open to interpretation. And so now we're seeing how that interpretation is played out through the eyes of the original creators, right? And while I'm not on board with all the choices that they made, it's still a really well done product, right? I mean, you can't deny. I mean, it looks amazing. It plays really well and all. And the story, while it definitely has some issues, it's also, of high quality too. Either way, I would say if you own the PlayStation 2 and you can get, or I'm sorry, the PlayStation 4, you can get past the controversies behind it, I still think that you would enjoy this game. I mean, get ready to have some, gut-wrenching moments in this game as well too, because the drama is it lays it on really thick, right? Even more so than part 1 probably. And so because of that, it can be a bit of a grind to get through, right? And not just emotionally, because there's a lot of heavy themes in here and all. But if you can get through that and all that, I still think you'll come away with, knowing that this is an excellent product though still. Let's see. But jumping over though to my number 7 is Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age. So this game originally wasn't exclusive to the PlayStation 4. Well, it also came out on the Nintendo 3DS in Japan, but on console here in the US, it was exclusive for a bit. And so Dragon Quest XI, what I love about it is that it, you play the game and all, and it still feels like an old school RPG, and I absolutely love it for that, even though it looks really gorgeous, and Akira Toriyama's artwork has never looked better. And even though the game is not necessarily open world, but you kind of play like in these zones, it still feels very expansive and very charming, just like all the Dragon Quest games. Incredible music and just a really basic but fun turn-based battle system. And that's what I like about this game. it it takes the old with the new and just comes out with an amazing RPG. And yeah, great story. It's just it's just a great game. The characters are great too, also. And yeah, I mean, some of the best. If you want like traditional RPG, I mean, you really can't get better than this and this generation. Looks really stunning now too. Also, if you get the Echoes of the Elusive Age S, which definitive edition, which has some new quality of life features, and then if you play it on the PlayStation 5 through backwards compatibility, it runs at a really smooth 60 frames per second. Looks absolutely stunning. But even on the original PlayStation 4, it looked really great as well too. And yeah, Dragon Quest 11, it's an amazing time. And I haven't beaten it all the way through, but definitely from what I have played, one of my more favorite Dragon Quest games. I mean, it's really that good. You won't be disappointed with this game if you're into RPGs. Let's see, but coming in at number 6, though, I have Uncharted 4: A Thieves End. And so this one, so kind of like was what I said on my previous PlayStation 3 video, of what I said about Metal Gear Solid 4 and God of War 3, where they were like the finale to a story. This game, I kind of feel the same about this game too, that it just ended this series of Uncharted in a really great way. I love what they did with it at the end, and the overall journey too also is really cool. And at times I kind of felt like, the sequel is a little unnecessary, but once you actually get going through the game and all and see what it's doing with this story, it's pretty cool. It has a slightly darker tone than the first, or I'm sorry, the original trilogy, but it's still definitely, Nathan Drake is still a smart ass. There's a lot of colorful locales and a lot of funny quips in it. And, it's all that still, right? But just has a little bit of a slight more edge to it, though. And so I did appreciate it for that. And another game, too, also that just looks absolutely stunning. Again, this is the PlayStation 5 version, right? But the PlayStation 4 version, I mean, it looks almost as good, right? Just not, with a high frame rate. But it still looks really well on that. And it's Uncharted. You're going to get great action, great characters, funny quips. Did I say cool action already? Incredible graphics, cool set piece moments. You're jumping from one locale to the other, so it all feels really refreshing. And while I don't feel like it's as good as Uncharted 2, for me, which is still the pinnacle of the series, it is still an amazing time and definitely worth your time to play. And if you've been a fan of the Uncharted games, by the time you're done with this one, you're going to feel satisfied with the way it all concludes. I'll just leave it at that there. Uncharted 4, A Thieves End, truly one of the best action games that you can get on the PlayStation 4. But at my number 5, though, is Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, one thing that this generation, right, and because I've already talked about a few of these kind of games, is that this generation really excelled in was open world games. I know we're kind of tired of them now and all, and part of that might have been because of the games that we played through in the 8th generation, where so many of them were open worlds. But holy crap, when they got it right, though, they're really well done and very immersive. Some of the coolest gaming experiences you'll have out there. And so this one, you play as Aloy, who she's kind of like you're living out in the wilds, and so your weapon of choice is this bow and arrow, and so everything seems a little primitive and all, but the world is inhabited by these huge mech dinosaurs. And so, which look amazing. I mean, the level of detail on these, robotic dinosaurs on is truly stunning. And they look and they kind of sound also like the Transformers movies from, Michael Bay's movies. And while some of his robotic designs in the Transformers movies, it felt like they were a little bit too much. That style, though, works really well in this game. And I mean, the graphics are just absolutely stunning in it. Admittedly, I'm cheating here again. This is the version on the PlayStation 5, and so it doesn't quite look as good as this on the PlayStation 4, but that version still looks really well, though. And, but yeah, it's just awesome open world gameplay, and definitely a lot of fun trying to figure out how to take down some of these robotic dinosaurs. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of cool stuff to do in the open world. And, and part of the fun of this game, too, also is unraveling the story, right? As far as like what's going on in this world, right? Why are we living in this really primitive time where, you have bows and arrows and everyone's living like in these, like in these just small tribes and all. But there's these huge, very futuristic looking dinosaur robots, right? Well, like what's going on with this? And the overall story for the most part doesn't disappoint. I enjoyed it, and it definitely keeps you hooked, right? And all as you're going through the game. Cool side missions in it and all. And while they're not some of the best side missions, if you were to compare it to something like The Witcher 3, but The Witcher 3 is The Witcher 3, right? I mean, that game really nailed that aspect of it. But this one is still fun, though. Has a lot of cool side content on it and all outside of the main story. And yeah, just a lot of fun trying to figure out how to take down these robotic dinosaurs, or even how to override them, right? So you can ride on them. And it's one of the prettiest games ever. Also, I know I've already said that a lot of times, but seriously, some of these games in this generation, I mean, it's I feel like graphics peaked in this generation. You can do better with resolution, you can do better with frame rates and all, but in terms of like graphical fidelity, the character models and all, it really didn't get much better than this generation. And I mean, this game here looks stunning. Again, this is the PlayStation 5 version, which looks a little bit better than the PlayStation 4 one, but overall, the game just looks amazing. And yeah, just you'll have a great time with this one. And Aloy, she's a pretty cool character. I know Sony's been really pushing this character with, trying to do a bunch of different spin-offs in her with, within their PlayStation brand of games. But I wouldn't quite put her on a high pedestal as far as overall PlayStation characters. But she's pretty cool, though. And the overall world she inhabits and all is really great. And yeah, definitely just a great experience. This is a really fun game. But another game also that really excelled in its open world design is Ghost of Tsushima. So this game, we're going back to feudal Japan, and where the Mongols are trying to take over. And so just, this game was developed by Sucker Punch. And so they're the creators of like the infamous games and then also the Sly Cooper games. So much different direction, right, for them. But really cool sword gameplay, a lot of cool things that you can do in the open world. And not only that, the way they try to really limit the overall HUD to the world and incorporate some, instead of having like waypoints and all, you have like the wind that's guiding you. The way you can find certain hidden locales is like by following a bird or a fox. That all kind of blends in well to the open world that you go through in this game. And it looks really stunning. And yeah, just another amazing sandbox to get lost in if you want to get transported over to ancient Japan. I mean, it's an incredible game, cool story, cool characters, a lot of cool missions that you can do on this one. And I love the sword play to it also. The way you can switch up between the different fighting styles is a lot of fun. And yeah, just definitely one of the better games again on the PlayStation 4. Another open world game. So again, this generation, if you really want to commit to it, just know that there's going to be some really beefy games, right? I mean, these games take forever to be, but they are so well done and so. I mean, you get lost in these worlds, and that's one thing that I'll remember this generation for having a lot of cool open world games on it. And this is definitely one of them. Truly excellent. And definitely a cool new PlayStation brand. As it just became a very promising IP, and I think became a big fan favorite. As I always hear, I never really hear anything bad about this game. It's always a game that's talked very fondly upon, and definitely deserve it. It's excellent. But at number 3, in another open world game, is Spider-Man, though. So this time we're going into the comic book world with Marvel's Spider-Man, and yeah, I mean, it's just an excellent superhero game. Great combat, which is it takes a lot of inspiration from the Batman Arkham games, which it's not a bad thing. Only now with Spider-Man's moveset. So it's a lot of fun to beat up the bad guys and all, and use a lot of your cool like web gadgets and all. It's a lot of fun. Really nailed down the swinging mechanic on it as you're swinging through New York City. It's some of the most fun you'll ever have traversing through an open world. And that alone right there, right? I don't know, you could spend a lot of time right just doing that and just enjoying the graphics, enjoying the city and all. It's a lot of fun for that. A lot of cool little extra things that you can do on the side too also. So like side missions or taking picture of things, which kind of leans into Peter Parker's side of skill set. And, taking on some criminals, right? And all that are attacking innocent people. And then the actual main missions are really well done. The story overall, I mean, it has a few hiccups here and there, but for the most part, it's probably my favorite Spider-Man story. Like, I love comic books, but I can't say I'm like huge on, that I've followed all the different comic books and all the series and all. So I can't really speak on the comic books too much themselves. But when it comes to movies, cartoons, games, and all that, this is my favorite Spider-Man story. It's really well done, and the actor Yuri Lowenthal, I believe is his name, really nails the voice of Spider-Man, and the overall cast too also is really great. Everyone from Aunt May to Mary J to all his rogues gallery, and that's another cool thing about this game is that Spider-Man has probably the second coolest rogues gallery out of any superhero. Not quite as good as Batman, but it has a lot of cool characters, and you take on a lot of them in this game here. I'll just say there's one specific scene that I thought was just, or one, I guess, stage, if you want to call it that you play out. It was just amazing, right? On how, I'll just say, on how you interact with a lot of Spider-Man's villains. It was so cool, and definitely geeked out, right? As a Marvel fan, it's just a lot of there's so much cool stuff to it, and that's the other thing too. Also, right? There's so many hidden secrets and all. Just finding his backpacks gives you a lot of cool little Easter egg moments. And yeah, Spider-Man, it's an amazing game, and definitely one of the best games on the PlayStation 4. But at my number 2, I have God of War. So this one changed up things quite a bit from the previous God of War games, where those were more hack and slash like. This one here, it was they went in a different direction. I mean, it's like behind the scene, over the shoulder perspective. It's still like a hack and slash in that on how you attack. So kind of like Dark Souls, the way you interact with the world and explore and all. It kind of felt like the rebooted Tomb Raider series. But now it's set in a Norse mythology, and so that's part of the fun of this game is that, so without spoiling the ending to God of War 3, where he's, in Greece, part of the lure of this game is like, what is going on here where now Kratos is over here in this Norse mythology world, and he has a son. And so just unraveling all that and all is pretty fun. And the story is much more mature, really well told, and has some real drama behind it where, the previous God of War games are just more about just death and destruction and all that, where this one actually has it's like it's wanting to tell a story. I do enjoy this game, and it has a lot of customization options with a lot of the different armor and weapons you can get. And so that's cool and all, but I don't know, it's a really great game. Really great game. Honestly, probably the best game on the PlayStation 4. I think if someone were to ask, like, as objectively as possible, what is the best game on the PlayStation 4? This one would probably be at the top. It's an excellent game. Overall, the production value on it is great. And even though it's trying to tell a story, things kind of are slowed down a bit from the really chaotic previous God of War games. Don't get me wrong, there's still some amazing set piece moments and action moments in this game. And another cool thing too also is the way that the director Cory Balrog directed this game in a way where it's all one shot. Like, they don't really cut to just about anything, right? You cut to a different scene and all. Like, no, everything is shot all in one shot. And how they did that is really amazing, especially when you get to these really crazy moments. I mean, just the first boss fight alone is pretty incredible. But yeah, and definitely some of the best graphics of this generation as well too, or just video games in general. I mean, really, the games on the PlayStation 4, like the first party titles specifically, are truly stunning to look at. I mean, they're some of the most incredible graphics you'll ever see, and this game is no exception. I mean, just look at what you're seeing here, right? I mean, it's really incredible. But yeah, overall cool story, and has some cool fan favorite moments, right, and all that are still talked about to this day. And God of War is definitely an excellent game that it sets up a really intriguing mystery, and the journey on as you're unraveling all that is really well done, and with really fun gameplay and just a cool world to explore. And well, again, I prefer more the Greek setting. This is pretty cool still though too, and a lot of memorable boss fights and all, and characters and all. And yeah, you'll definitely have a fun time with this one. It's really good. But what I have at my number 1, this game is sort of where I come full circle on my video game journey here, as this is for Final Fantasy VII Remake. This pick here, I'll be honest, right? So I said before, right, that God of War is probably the best game on the PlayStation 4. this is a very biased pick, right? I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII, and so I just have, I mean, so much love is going to go into this game for me, and not just because I'm biased towards the game or the name Final Fantasy VII, but it's a really well done game too, also, right? I mean, Final Fantasy VII remake is a very high quality remake that they're doing, and very incredible. So what this is so it's basically taking the first, or I'm sorry, the original Final Fantasy game back from the PlayStation, and they're splitting it up into three. And so as of right now, we still don't, as of I'm recording this, which is on, let's see, February 11th of 2026, we still don't have the name of the third part in the trilogy that they're doing, what it's going to be all about, and all that, right? I mean, we have an idea if we played the previous PlayStation game, right? But we're still kind of in the dark on it all, because as of right now, we've had part one and two of this trilogy. So this is the first one in the trilogy that came out originally exclusive on the PlayStation 4, and this game here, so again, they're taking the old game and splitting it up into three. This game basically it takes place from when you start the game in the original one and until you leave Midgar. And I'll just leave it at that. Most of the game is faithful to the original version as far as like the story and all. It's just obviously fleshed out more. But there is a part of it though, right, and all, where it definitely does its own thing. And for that, I will just say without spoiling anything and all, is that I am intrigued enough to see where they're going to go with it. I'm trying to be very optimistic. I don't say that I prefer this one over the original, because I need to see how it all plays out with the part three, which I'm heavily anticipating. But this remake one though, obviously it looks really well, right? I mean, like I said before, right? The graphics in this generation are stunning. Game is no exception. Looks absolutely amazing. And while it does have some graphical glitches here and there, specifically on the PlayStation 4 version, the door, the apartment door, which basically looks like a PS1 texture. But otherwise, the game looks incredible. The character models are some of the best out there, and definitely looks good. The combat is probably my favorite combat system of any RPG. It's very much more action oriented this time around than the turn-based battle systems of the previous Final Fantasy games, but it does have some turn-based elements to it though, where you can still select an item, select commands from a menu, select which special attack you want to do and so forth, right? You level up your character, you outfit them with different weapons, materia, and those kind of things. And the way they implemented the materia in this game, it feels a lot like the first original one, but expands on it more, right, to give you more options and moves, because again, now it's an action game. And all of the combat system and everything though, and like I said, it's definitely some of my favorite, as some of the enemy encounters you have on this are just a lot of fun, and the bosses that are out there too also, the game can be a little challenging actually too, so it's that was pretty refreshing, right, and all, as it definitely keeps you on your toes. And I always thought, like, how are they going to do this, right? Because Final Fantasy VII is such a the scope of the game is so huge in the original one that it's like, how are they going to do this with modern graphics and all? And there was moments in this one here that I was just absolutely floored that they got some of the aspects of the original Final Fantasy VII game so right. And I mean, my jaw was on the floor, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I'm just like, my gosh, we're at this point now where what I thought Final Fantasy VII looked like in my head back then, this looks much better. The character models to this look even better than the Advent Children movie. I mean, it's incredible to look at. I mean, it's just so, and again, when they're taking my favorite game of all time and really prettying it up and giving it flashy new effects and graphics and battle mechanics and all that. I'm just floored, right, with what they're doing. Having said that, though, the game is not perfect, right? There's certain story beats about it that are just kind of like, there is a bit of padding in the game where, I mean, again, the first section in Midgard, it took like what, maybe like 4 to 5 hours to beat, and here it's stretched out to like a, roughly about a 30-hour game. So yeah, there's going to be some padding in this game. But even then, though, I didn't mind it too much, just because I just enjoy inhabiting in this world. And again, that's what I'm saying. My bias is coming out on this one here, because I'm going to overlook some things, and not just because of how much of a geek I am towards it. The dialogue can be a bit cringy and all. It's definitely anime-like dialogue, where some things, and all the way it's said in Japanese or a certain sense of humor and all doesn't quite land as well over here. But even having said that, though, the acting in the game, though, is actually really well done. Cody Christensen is a spot on perfect Cloud. Brianna White as Aerith, she's just as beautiful and charming as ever. Tifa, or Brie Barton, I think is her name, the actress that plays Tifa. She's an absolute sweetheart, and she has a very sweet and commanding voice, and that lends really perfect to Tifa. The actor that does, I always forget his name, John something, I believe, John Eric Bentley, maybe, I could be wrong, but his Barrett is just spot on. I mean, he definitely is a tough guy, and all, but has a bit of a soft spot as well too, especially when he's talking to Marlene. Those scenes are just so adorable. Red 13, the actor that plays him, does a really incredible job. Tyler Hoechlin, who does the voice for Sephiroth, is just amazing. And the overall Shinra cast is, they're really great as well too. And yeah, I thank the gods for this game. I mean, honestly, it's truly incredible. And obviously it's a sequel that's already out, right? But that came out on the PlayStation 5, so I'll talk about that if I ever talk about the PlayStation 5. Right here, we're just focusing on Final Fantasy VII Remake because this is the one that did come out on the PlayStation 4. And even outside of my bias, this game was generally pretty well received. Again, what they're doing with the story and all, it's one of those things where it's like, I have to see how it pays off. But on its own, I would say that even if you have issues with the way this particular version ends, you will still enjoy about 95% of this game, right? And not only enjoy it, but there's times in this game where it'll probably be some of the coolest things you'll ever experience too also. It's that good. I mean, it truly is an incredible product. And I can see, though, why some people don't like it. Again, it does take some liberties with what they did in the previous one. And some of the stuff can be a little difficult to accept, right? So I get it, right? I mean, if it's something that you don't enjoy, then that's perfectly understandable. But if you're willing to give it a shot and have a bit of an open mind towards having a little bit of faith in where they're going with it, then you're in for an incredible ride. Again, unless they completely botch the third one, which I don't see it happening because they have a lot of the same developers and all that. I feel like they're gonna, even if they don't stick the landing completely on the third one, I still feel that they got a pretty good product on their hands here, and this is the one that set it all off, and truly an amazing experience, and my favorite experience on the PlayStation 4, bar none. It's I know I said that I didn't really want to do like remakes and remasters and all that much, but because this one plays so much different than the original one and all, I just had it included in here. And also because, at least for me personally, is the game that really, just as much as like the first one defined the first PlayStation, maybe not on that level because, again, it's not the full game, but this game really for me defined in many ways the PlayStation 4, and just absolutely loved it. And it came out in 2020, right at the tail end of the PlayStation 4's lifetime. Just an amazing game, and I'm so glad they're making this, and I just can't wait to see how this all pans out. Oh, and another thing too, also the music, what they did with how they're remaking the original soundtrack along with new tracks and all, just truly amazing. And I'm just glad this game exists. It is so good. It's like, thank you for doing this. It's an amazing time. But that's what I got here for the PlayStation 4. Let me know what your favorite games are on this system, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.